Hello and welcome to Meet Our Makers, an artist interview podcast produced in association with Beats Per Minute. I'm your host, Jeremy J. Facette. On this episode, we get to meet Valerie June. Valerie June is a singer, songwriter, guitarist, multi-instrumentalist, really, author, visual artist, multi-hyphenate, who just released her newest record, Owls, Omens, and Oracles. And in this chat, we go really deep into that new record, including the various strains of different musical genres, how the history of her own personal experiences with these genres kind of influences her songcraft, but also the themes of these songs, which include many things, including positivity. And we talk about how radical positivity and optimism can feel in a time like this. We get pretty candid at times. Valerie was a lovely, chatty, friendly, but also very candid, open book kind of interviewee, the best kind. And I think if you have ever liked any of her songs or just want to listen to a really deep conversation about music making and connection and positivity and spirituality and, you know, everything in between, I think you'll enjoy this chat. So thank you for listening. This is me meeting Valerie June.
Oh, I'm doing great. I had a nice, long, deep practice of yoga looking at a tree. And I needed it because I've been very busy, so my practices have been fast. And this was one day where the morning was slow, and I was able to just stay in each pose for a super long time and get in all the cells with breath.
Good.
So I'm feeling like so good right now.
You're so loose, you're so ready, so calm, so centered.
Yeah, ready to dance.
Love
I'll probably dance when I get off this call.
it. Well, thank you for agreeing to come hang out for a little bit. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I was excited to have you. So we should say off the top, your new record is on its way, called Owls, Omens, and Oracles. It's out April 11th on Concord. This is your first record in a few years, about 4 years, I think, since Prescriptions for Dreamers came out. How are you beyond the yogic calm? How are you feeling as we approach this big release date?
The excitement is building. I'm just like getting really energized. It was a slow progression into it for me because I just kind of feel like, okay, we're coming out of the holidays. I took a trip out of the country and slowly coming back, and my birthday's in January. So I just take a lot of time to just be really intentional about not starting the new year on the 1st. Wait till after the 10th, which is my birthday. And so it's been really nice to kind of ease into it versus being like, okay, we gotta go.
Right.
But it has been in the same sense. There's a lot to do. So, well, I'm used to juggling and handling all of that too. So it's all good.
And how long have you been sort of sitting on the news of this record? Like, has it been months since you've been sort of waiting to announce it?
Well, Em and I completed the mixing and mastering in October. So to
Okay.
me, it's a pretty fast turnaround.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll finish a record and I'll turn it into the label and we'll choose a date. But 2 times the date that I've chosen has gotten pushed back by like 2 or 3 months. So I'm used to like turning it in and being like super hopeful that I can get it out in the next 4 months so I can move on and start creating other things. But I get that extra time added on, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta wait a little longer. But this is perfect because it's like the baby's coming in the exact 9-month time cycle it's supposed to, not any further. So to me, that amount of time would be about 4 months because when I first was talking to different labels, both the label in the UK that I first signed with and Concord, they all would say, I say, how long would it take y'all to put a record out? They always say about 4 months. We need some time to get it all set up. And so I'm happy to stick to that window now.
Yeah. No, that does feel like kind of a fast turnaround. A lot of the time I'll have people on who have a record coming out in a couple months or whatever, and they say, "Oh, it's been done for 18 months and it's been sitting and waiting." Uh, so this is a nice little quick, I don't know, what is that, like a 7-month window between finishing and release? That's not bad.
Not bad at all. I'm
No.
excited.
Yeah. Um, would you, let's go back to sort of the beginning of this new record. First of all, when would you say roughly you actually started working on it?
Well, the recording we started in July.
Hmm.
But the songs I started, some of the songs are like over a decade old.
Oh, wow.
Um, so I would say I started working on it a long time ago, probably like 20 years ago. But um then, I met up with M. Ward in the backstage area of Newport Folk Festival in 2022. And
Hmm.
we said, oh, we got to do something together. We really need to work together. Then I also met up with him at Hartley Strictly Bluegrass Festival, like a few months after that Newport meeting. And we were like, yeah, we got to do it. We got to do it. And we said we would do it like a couple of months out from saying we would backstage, but that didn't occur till a year after we
Hmm.
saw each other at the festival. I finally called him. I was like, look, are we going to do this or what? We got to get this done. So we went to the studio he loves to work at in LA called 64 Sound, and it was awesome. I
Hmm.
mean, but things take time. And that's also why I named that record Before the Order of Time, because art has taught me patience. And my mother growing up, I was learning to sew.
Hmm.
She was teaching me. And I would move all fast with things. She was like, you have no patience, absolutely no patience. You're going to mess this dress up. And there were several things that I made that I really messed up. And so art started to teach me patience at a very young age, like with sewing, with painting, with poetry, with songwriting, with all of it. It's just like, okay, I don't want to learn this lesson, but I have to.
Mm. Is that something you've struggled with? Is trying to implement that patience in your art making?
Oh yeah. When you make art, you want to share it. If
Yeah.
it's a piece to be shared, you want to share it like while that energy is there. It's
Yeah.
like here you go, versus oh.
Yeah.
Z.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I make music too, although obviously not on as large a scale of you, but like as someone who does sort of self-release and work fully on my own, of course, like, yeah, I always kind of wish like I could get more ears on my work, but at the same time, I talk a lot about how being a self-releaser, I'm like, yeah, I finished this album like last week. Here it is.
Wow. Oh my
You know what?
God.
Well, because like you can instantly upload stuff and share it with people, and I don't know, or like I write a song and I like it, so I share it, that kind of thing. And that part is nice, because I think I would struggle too with the patience of finishing something I'm really proud of and really eager to share, and then having to wait a very, very long time.
I definitely feel a little bit jealous. I ain't gonna lie, jelly over here.
So you mentioned some of the songs are quite old. I would imagine several are relatively newer. So how do you, I guess, like what were some of the unifying sort of themes or ideas that you were using as the fuel for this record?
Well, I sent him a bunch of songs. I call him M Ward, but
Hmm.
people call him Matt. So I sent him a bunch of songs and he helped me like choose which ones would be wonderful to focus on with this particular group of musicians and that resonated the most with him. And I think maybe there was like one or two songs where I was like, no, no, not that one over this one. But for the most part, we agreed on which songs would be the ones that we
Mm,
wanted to share. So what I had to do separate from him before sending him the songs was I had to go through all my songs and be like, okay, which one of y'all isn't leaving me alone. You're just with me all day, and you're like jumping on the table, like, come on, me. Those are the ones that I know I need to put in the collection to send whatever producer I'm working with. Then from there, it's really hard for me to choose because I'm kind of like the mother of the project. So
Hmm.
I don't want to choose one child over another. So I send it off to somebody else and I'm like, you choose. And then if I feel really passionately about a certain one, like I don't tell them anything about them. I just send them. And usually they pick the ones that I'm feeling as well, just from their own um, experience or whatever it might be. Those are the ones that the Times are saying need to be recorded.
Hmm.
I wonder if I had an endless stream of wealth, if I would just record all the songs.
I'm getting a feeling you might.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like as a musician that you won't run out of things to do? Kind of like as long as you can play music, you could be in the nursing home and you're still going to have stuff to do. There's more to learn, there's more to capture.
Yeah, no, definitely. Um, so I was reading through, I was able to listen to the record once before our talk because I got it. I think I got a link to it yesterday, which I'm happy to have heard it in advance of talking with you. But I was also reading through the album notes that I was sent. And one thing that struck me, one of the few things that struck me was this line. It describes the album as being a multi-dimensional, or about a multidimensional blackness steeped in laughter, truth, and magic. And I'm wondering what that means to you and how you think that idea was part of the ignition of these songs.
Those are Adrienne Marie Brown's words.
They're so
Wow.
lovely.
I know. What a cool person, too, because she works with joy and positivity and
Mm-hmm.
activism, and she just a bright light for me
Mm-hmm.
in my life. And I feel like so grateful that she wrote that. I was reading it and I was just like, what? Really? And I love like the word laughter in there
Mm-hmm.
and the multi dimensions. As I was doing yoga with the tree, I was communing with it, and it was saying that it was a keeper
Mm.
and that I am like, there's a lot of masters of this world, but that the tree is a keeper, and the tree was keeping the wisdom and the knowledge of many, many generations of every soul that's ever touched the earth, whether they were deemed a good soul or a bad soul, and that the tree was keeping me. And
Mm.
when I think about that, I think about what it means to have ancestors who come from enslaved roots
Mm-hmm.
and the heaviness of that I felt in my life and that I feel in the world sometimes. Like for a long time, I don't want to read the history of Frederick Douglass or
Mm-hmm.
Harriet Tubman or, my own history because it was so painful.
Yeah.
And I wanted to move in directions of light. And I felt like revisiting that it always made me cry. It always made me feel heavy
Mm-hmm.
until I met the blues. And I learned about my history through music, through the blues. And that too could be seen as a darkness because it was people who experienced a lot of trials and strife through their day coming home at the end of the day after someone might have been lynched or might have been beaten or working in the field all day. And that person coming home and picking up the guitar and sitting in an old sharecropper porch and
Mm-hmm.
playing some music that lifted every single heart that had been working and struggling that day, times 400
Right.
years.
Right.
And so, like the people that I come from, this multi-dimensional, it's like the tree's roots and how multi-dimensional you can imagine it is down in the layers and the thickets of the soil that
Mm-hmm.
here they connect with the other side of the globe. And so, like, I think about the lineage that we have, and why not laugh? Why not feel light? Why not feel magical? Because we still carry such beauty and we still share such joy with the world. And so I am the dream that my ancestors had. So I feel that deeply. I feel like it's steeped. It's like
Hmm.
when I hear the word steep too, I think about like the Mississippi River and how fat that river is, and it's brown. It's
Hmm.
ugly. It's not not clear crystal blue water like I saw in the Caribbean. It is muddy. It's got a bunch of stuff in there.
Hmm.
And I look at that water and I think, and even like I'm a huge tea drinker. So I'm steeping my roots and my herbs and my teas.
Hmm.
And, like to be steeped in something and to be steeped in something like laughter, it just
Yeah.
makes me so happy. And it makes me look at the world and any challenges that we might be facing and be like, no, we got this. Yes,
Mm.
we do. You know,
That's I'm like I can't help but like smile listening to it because it's such an optimistic point of view in an era where I don't think there's a lot of open optimism. So I definitely appreciate that. But you say all this and I do see that in your work. I mean, even before this record, it's not that you haven't written about serious concepts before, and not even that you don't on this record, but there is that sense of optimism or joy or laughter in a lot of what you do. Is that something you actively try to participate in, sort of like bringing bringing the light and trying to channel the light?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because to me, there is nothing more serious than like living in a optimistic and joyful and like laughing and finding beauty in the world. To me,
Hmm.
that is like more serious than hearing about all of the troubles and pain and struggles. That they're serious too, but to me, it is more serious to look at all that the world has that, is super, super heavy and dark and say, I'm going to make the conscious choice to call on something greater or to
Mm.
create something greater. To me, that's the only way someone like Mandela in a prison cell for years could channel some positive energy to stay up and light and lit and beautiful. So when he got out, he was ready. You weren't about to stop him. And so what I'm talking about is it's fierce, it's serious,
Hmm.
to be joyful in this dark world is very serious. And people downplay it all the time. They're just like, that's just a bunch of hippie shit, whatever. But I am telling you, you cannot do anything more serious. And everything is trying to pull us away from it all the time.
Well, it's also like one of the most difficult things to do sometimes is to lead with joy or love or positivity in a dark time. And so the fact that one can accomplish that, why look down on something so impressive, that you can keep that up?
Well, it definitely is a practice, and that's a whole nother side of it is that it's work.
Hmm.
Yesterday, I did not come out of the darkness. I stayed in it all day, and I even woke up today and I had tears in my eyes, and I was like, you know what? I don't really want to get up today because
Hmm.
I feel kind of like I could lay here, and if I just lay here, I won't lose. If
Mm.
I just lay here, I won't lose. But if I get up and I get going, there's a chance that I'm going to lose. And it could be the loss of like anything, like just feel like one article could shift my energy and I feel lost,
Yeah.
you know? So, and that made me cry this morning. It made me sad because I want to wake up in a world where, I know that the articles I read are going to be about creating something beautiful, magical, joyful, radiant, bright, iridescent. But I know waking up on Earth, I know the reality is I'm not trying to bypass the reality. I'm trying to look at the reality and say, okay, yeah, this shit is real.
Yeah.
And what are we gonna do? What
Yeah.
are we gonna do? We're gonna wake up. We might cry a few tears. We're gonna know that we might lose. But if that's what losing looks like, then I will be a loser. That's why I wrote the song "Call Me a Fool" because I'm okay with being a fool. You know, if
Yeah.
you think it's foolish to be joyful, to be like living in light or choosing positive ways of being or hopeful of a better future for the kids to come, then yeah, call me crazy. I'll take
So before we get into the songs of this record, I did want to talk for a moment about the title of the record, Owls, Omens, and Oracles. I'm wondering where that came from, how you landed on that.
it.
If
Well,
you don't mind telling me.
yeah, I had a lot of names that I was working with between October and the time when the label was like, we need the name now. And nothing really stuck. And so one day I've been visited over the last couple of years by this owl, and it'll come across the pond in Tennessee. I wake up early often, and I look across the pond, and there'll be fog, and there will be like this owl perched on a branch, and it's just me and that owl and the fog and the muddy pond, and me having my tea and watching it from afar.
Hmm.
And I just have felt like studying the owl. So then I started to study the owl and just like what does the owl mean in the mythological world? What do humans give to the meaning and the spirit of an owl? And that would mean ability to see all the way around, like almost 360, ability to see in the darkness,
Hmm.
ability to embrace mystery and not really knowing exactly what the future will hold. These are the things that throughout years and centuries, people have come to, different cultures have come to see owls as representing. But then also putting that with omens. So, what did the owl mean for me? That it was coming in the time when I was going to be in the kitchen at that exact time making tea, looking out the window. What did it mean for me? What did any of the omens that I received mean for me or the world?
Hmm.
And then the oracle being that I went to a university and I was doing a workshop there last year, and there was an elder from the indigenous community there, and he blew me away because he said, "We are in our culture, in our tribe, we try to think about what every action will do for 7 generations to come." So, and I just was like, 7 generations?
Yeah.
So, what we are here today, you and me and everyone on this planet, we are the living oracle for the future generations. We are that. So, what do we want it to be like? And so,
Mm.
all of these things coming together create like a circle, and O is a circle. So, O is owls, omens, and oracles. But it's also like, the circle of humanity, the circle of your individual sphere and what our individual power and our signs and our superhero strength can do, and the power of one. All of these things are kind of like what I was seeing when I went to name the record Owls, Omens, and Oracles.
Hmm. That makes sense. I like that.
There's a lot of things and
Yeah.
more coming every day. I'm just like, oh gosh, what is this?
Um, are there any songs on the record inspired by the owl specifically?
For sure, Calling My Spirit is a
Okay.
song that has the owls song in it
Hmm.
because I love bird song. I love listening to birds more than anything. People ask
Hmm.
me, well, what are you listening to? I'm like, I'm listening to birds. But the owls sound, and then that song is Calling My Spirit. So it's
Mm.
like I was with a lady who was, I can't remember, was it her? It might have been a friend years ago who was just in casual conversation talking about something that had gone awry in her day. And she said, well, I'm just going to call my spirit back to me. I'm just going to call it back. And I was just like, okay, you do that. But now I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to call it back. It got away from you. You got to get it back.
I love that. Um, yeah, we started very recently, like maybe last December, starting hearing owls in the trees near our yard, which we had never heard, and we've been here for like 6 years. Um, I love hearing them. I love waking up and hearing birds. There's one of the best. It's one of the best things.
Yeah, and they do, of course, represent wisdom,
Hmm.
and that's also cool. And then, like, I love fables. I love like Aesop's fables and different fables that teach you a moral lesson. And I think a lot of the things that we have in the world that we wish to make better or to heal, that a simple fable and animals can teach us a lot.
Hmm.
Nature. I love this book I just read. You got to check it out. It's called The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer.
I have heard
It's
of that. Yeah.
so good. So good.
Okay. I'll have to add it to my ever-growing list.
Yeah, I know. I'm like that too. I'm like, okay, do I have enough time in my life to listen to all of this music and read all these?
I mean, I'm an English teacher in my daily life, so I have like this massive collection of books that I've never read that I keep adding to for new books that I want to read, and I don't know if I'll ever get to them, but it's nice to have an aspiration.
Exactly. My partner was like, you can let go of a book after you read it. I'm like,
I know. I recently started like reading aloud with my husband as opposed to like watching TV all the time or something or like whatever. And I finished a book recently and he was like literally closed the cover and he says, "All right, you can get rid of that one now." And I'm like, "No, no, I cannot. It has to go back on my shelf and look at me and be pretty up there. Like I can't get rid of it."
exactly. You never
It's so
know when to you might need to reference it.
yeah, maybe I want to read it again someday. Or loan it to
Yes.
someone. Lending books to people and exchanging things like that is so fun. So yeah.
Oh yeah. That's totally a Serviceberry move.
So this record begins with the song Joy Joy, which at this point is the only song that's out right now. Came out very recently as the first single. I'm curious what this song means to you and sort of why you chose it as the first thing to reveal from the record. Do you think that it is sort of emblematic of something about the album, or did you just it just felt right?
Well, it did feel right, but it also it was a continuation of a theme that I saw occurring in my work, which was that Astral Plane came, and that song came 2 records ago. Then, and it was dealing with light. The end of the song says, the beginning of the song says, "Is there a light you have inside you can't touch?"
Hmm.
And the end of the song says that there is a light you have inside you can't touch. I mean, that you can touch.
Mm.
And so when I got Joy Joy, I was like, oh, this is a sister song to Astral.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was like, okay, well, we can start where another record or another song is left off. And so we started with Joy Joy. And also, it's the beginning of the year. People are going into the year. They have their resolutions and all the things they want to do. So, like,
Mm.
yeah, joy. Let's get excited about it this new year and just putting out some good, strong, foundational, positive energies for as we go through this year,
Yeah.
because there's so much that's going on.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to do that and yeah, I just love sharing it because it makes me laugh
Mm.
whenever whenever I think about the video, I laugh because it just is so wacky and there's so many colors and it's just so funny. So, I think it really just makes me laugh and feel like a sense of joy in the moment.
Yeah. Well, as we were saying, I mean, that's an important thing to be looking for and striving for, especially it seems lately. So I can appreciate that you start the record off with that. You're starting the album cycle off with that. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm excited.
One of my favorite songs on the record was at the other end on the closing track, "Love and Let Go." Um, I always like those. You have like a few songs per album where things really slow down. You kind of hit ballad mode. But this one felt especially beautiful to me. Um, what would you say this song is tackling?
That is a very old song. It's a song I wrote in a dream. So I was sleeping real deep. I've written three dream songs. It would be Why the Bright Stars Glow, Twine and Twisted, and this one, If You Love and Let Go.
Hmm.
And when I was waking up from the dream where I heard this voice singing me the song, there were these tiny little fairies all around me, and I was seeing like little lights. And I was just like, I mean, I can't even describe it to you what it felt like to wake up after receiving that song. It was just like, whoa, oh
Hmm.
my God, am I dead? Because it was like not even waking up on earth. It was so surreal.
Hmm.
But when we recorded that song, it's an old song. And when we recorded that song, there have been many times I've recorded that song. I've always heard these kind of like a New Orleans style horns on there.
Hmm.
We were in the studio. We had tracked the basic band parts, and I was talking to Nate Walcott, who did all of the string and horn arrangements, and just kind of like describing to him the horns that I heard so that he could write the arrangements for the the horn players to see. So it'd
Hmm.
be easy for them to come in and just read a chart. And I'm humming and I'm just trying to describe and plan references and things to them. And nothing compares to when they came in. And I was in the control room and I was looking into the studio through the window as they played it. And when they played it, I just started crying and I could not stop crying. And I'm in there, I'm the only girl with all of these dudes. And they're just like, oh, they were just like, they didn't know what to do. But I was crying for a lot of reasons, but the big reason is that when you have a song that's about 20 years old and finally you get the horns on there the way you hear them in your head,
Yeah.
like, and you think about what that journey of that song is and what the journey of your life has been and what the journey of other people's lives has been and all the loss and all the changes and tossing and turning and finally love and let go. It's out, and it's exactly the way you envisioned it in your mind's eye.
Yeah, that's so lovely.
So that made me break down. I did. I broke.
Yeah. So you've tried to do that one several times and it's just never worked exactly the way you wanted it to?
It's worked as it would in that time. Like I
Okay.
recorded a version with Hitch and the Old Crow Medicine show. It's on Valerie June and the Tennessee Express, and I love it.
Hmm.
I don't compare it. It's just that I didn't have a budget, first of all. I'm sitting here, Ketch is calling in all kinds of favors with his buddies to help me.
Hmm.
And I just didn't have a song needs the right connection and room and time of day and all the things for it to have what it wants. And so I'm just kind of like trying it in different scenarios through the years. And I feel like what we captured then is a version of the song, but there was more. As I listened to it, I was just like, well, I do hear more. And so I was finally able to do that. And it just made me feel so grateful for all the people who've helped me, like catching the old crow and the label and, different people who've, friends and people. I think when I first did that song live, I sang it with this girl named Mickey who was visiting Memphis from Sweden.
Mm.
I haven't seen her in 25 years, it seems, 20 years, but her voice was so beautiful. And I remember that
Hmm.
singing that song with her. I remember the fairies when I wrote it. I remember, so all of that just came together in the studio that day. It was just kind of like this, okay, all of this is fitting. This equation is now solved.
Yeah. In addition to the arrangements, you mentioned you worked with M. Ward on production, um, engineered by Pierre de Reeder of Rilo Kiley fame. Um, you also feature some contributions from Blind Boys of Alabama, Nora Jones. I mean, did this feel like a particularly collaborative process, this album?
Yes, it did. And I just feel so grateful for people like Blind Boys and Nora and people that I've known through the years
Hmm.
who have asked me to work on things with them. And I was able to ask them in turn to work on something with me. So I really think I'm a hermit. So it's really wonderful when I'm able to collaborate because I could basically stay in the house all year.
Yeah.
Or just travel alone for years and years, like some nomad. But when I do get to work with others, I realize, oh yeah, I do like this.
Mm.
I do enjoy collaborating.
And then
Do
you go back
you
to your
like to
house.
collaborate?
Um, yeah, I don't often. In my own work, I do almost all of it by myself, but um, I have especially remotely collaborated with people. I've met some people through nice circumstances online that are musicians that get what I'm doing and have, volunteered a horn part here or guitar part there. Because I mostly just play guitar and sing, and I mess around on keyboards and stuff, but I don't like really know what I'm doing. But I did like recently last year I had someone do violin arrangements for the first time ever I had real strings on a song, and that was lovely. So I think it is something I'd like to do more of
Oh yeah.
because it
Don't you
brings out a
find
different
too?
side.
Huh?
It brings out a different side of something that you thought you knew. And then also with that song that had strings on it, I've wanted a song with strings in it for a really, really, really long time, but I don't play any strings, and I don't really, up to then I didn't really know anyone who played strings. But while I was recording the bass, guitar, and voice of that song, I was like, this one needs strings. And luckily I was able to get some strings, and it felt really completing to do that.
I love that the way that it took that turn and you brought in those collaborators. And I was even thinking about the hermetic style of living and
Hmm.
how no matter what, if you play music, you really do collaborate. Even if you don't think about it, you do. You
Yeah.
play with the bassist, you play with the drummer, you go to the studio where they have the engineers or whatever. It's rare as the bird who does every single thing alone in music because it's meant to be shared.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, One thing that I wanted to touch on about your work, when your work is written about or reviewed or whatever the case may be, one of the things that people love to bring up is how it reminds of Appalachian folk music. Um, I don't personally think it always does. I think you are sort of a cross-genre, intergenre person. I don't know if you would agree with that. Um, but I'm wondering if Appalachian folk music actually does factor in for you. I mean, we mentioned, the idea of lineages and roots before. Was Appalachian music something that actually was present in your life or was an influence on you?
Absolutely. Like, you know, I wouldn't really be grounded in Appalachian folk music, but I was grounded and rooted in the church. And
Hmm.
many of the songs that they sang were songs that were sang throughout the state.
Hmm.
So West Tennessee is not Appalachia, it's the Delta. right near the area where I'm at in Memphis, Jackson, Tennessee, and Mississippi. That area is very flat and it's very like muddy, and Appalachia is more rolling hills and
Hmm.
mountains, the Great Smokies. So my side of the state, we got the twang too, you know. That's just how it is. Like I was talking to a friend who lived in New York and she was like saying, "Is your accent real?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, okay." And then she went on a road trip from New York to New Orleans and she stopped in Jackson because it's the biggest town between Memphis and Nashville. And she got some gas. And she said, "Oh my God." She texted me. She said, "Your accent is real." She was like, "Everybody at this gas station sounds like you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I told you."
You're like, I know.
Yeah, because like no matter what, I'm always gonna have twang. That's just who I am and how I sound and where I'm from. That's what we
Hmm.
sound like. But you take the twang and you find me as a person who grew up in the gospel and learning those same songs. Um, and then learning about artists like Mississippi John Hurt when I moved to Memphis, and Elizabeth Cotton and the Carter family and Jimmy Rogers. They all sang gospel songs. They
Hmm.
sang a lot of different other songs too, but the gospel songs that they sang were songs that I was raised singing.
Yeah.
And I was raised singing them with this accent that I have. And my grandmother had this accent, and her grandmother had this accent. And so all the women and men that I went to church with sang these songs like I sang these songs. And so, um, it's a different version. But then as I got curious, I was like, well, where was Mississippi John Hurt from? Okay, so he was from the Delta. Well, where was the Carter family from? Oh, they were from Bristol, Virginia, the Appalachian side. And I
Hmm.
started to see that there was a kindredness between the East and the West, and that there was also I studied it. I learned that this is how I started to study my race and my history as a Black American woman, and
Hmm.
learning that yeah, these songs were swapped across the lines between blacks and whites, and though it's very segregated, or it was very segregated, there was a mixing that happened with the music. You can't take music and just totally separate it, you know?
Yeah.
You have music when people feel a beat, they feel that music, and they like, it doesn't matter race. They don't say, "Oh, well, I don't like that sound because someone black is singing it." It was a
Hmm.
funny story that a friend told me about Solomon Burke being invited to Mississippi to perform. And the people in the town where he was invited, they loved his music. And they invited him and they didn't know what race he was. So he showed up and he was a black guy and it was for a Klan event. And they
Oh
were like, "Well,
no.
you're gonna let him play."
Oh
So
no.
because we like the music. So, I mean, it is
Oh
what it
geez.
is. And all I'm saying is that like, yeah, there was a certain point where because I was raised on um the gospel music and I knew all of the songs, and then I started to study the artist, then I started to study where the artists come from, and then I started to understand that this was just a part of who I am, being
Yeah.
from Tennessee, and that led me to study more artists in the Appalachian folk tradition, but not just that, all over the South, and just like study all that music that is my heritage.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting too to hear because it reminds me of, you know, putting my English teacher hat on a little bit, but like it reminds me of oral tradition, from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. That's how stories got told, and you could have a story that was come up with whatever in Britain, and the Danes would know about it because traveling storytellers would bring it along. And it's interesting too because it's reminding me of how, so many world religions and world mythologies, even the smallest mythological culture, you know, they share a lot of stories. The characters might be different and the language is different, but they share so much, even if they've never crossed paths. And there is that universality to it, that crossing over, as you say. Um, so yeah, that's an interesting like discovery on your part to kind of realize that as you were raised in one area musically, to then realize the go between, between the two.
Right. And then to connect all of that with as you say, yes, I do Appalachian folk music, but then you heard all the other things that I do too,
Right.
which has been quite interesting to market my music because first I have a very odd voice, but then all of the different styles and music is usually marketed with a certain direction, even when you
Right.
go to Grammys or any awards, their marketing and directions and so like I just took all of the upbringing that I had and then the studies that I had and then what I loved. Anything from Pink Floyd to Tina Turner to the Beatles to, and then also learning that that music is rooted in Black American culture too, with
Yeah.
Sister Elizabeth Thorpe being the godmother of rock and roll and Little Richard being a godfather of rock and roll. So, like, understanding that all of this is me. Like, I had an interviewer ask me, with a voice like mine that leans toward country or whatever, why I put my music with these other genres. And I don't really choose it. The song tells me what to do, but there's a lot of reasons after I thought about it that a person could choose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being in my shoes, because you know, you have the world constantly telling you who to be, how to be,
Yeah.
looking like me. And it's like, you know what? Let me just do what the fuck I want to do. If I want to rock out, let me rock out because I got the
Exactly.
right to because Sister Rosetta rocked out. So let me do it.
Exactly. I mean, your music, this record included. I mean, yes, there's Appalachian, folk strains to some of the songs. There's also spiritual and soul strains. There's rock strains. At least one song has it's almost like a trappy beat on it. So there is kind of a blending that yeah, it just comes naturally. You're just doing whatever you want to do. Like it is sort of defying. I know you're not maybe exactly trying to do this, but it does sort of defy all those categorizations and the boxing in of people's work.
Yeah, I mean, it's and that could be something that could be good, but or it also comes with its challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Um,
I mean, it is what it is.
yeah. One last thing I wanted to touch on, and you kind of you mentioned it very briefly earlier. I've talked about this on the show before, but one of my big music life, maybe the biggest music lover life regrets that I have is that I was at that Newport Folk Festival in 2022. I was there. Um, but I left Saturday night, maybe Sunday morning, because I wasn't feeling great and it was stupid hot. And I was just, it was like 100 degrees. I never got to the fort in time to get shade. So I was dying. So I was like, I need to go. So I left. I woke up Monday morning to see that Joni Mitchell had returned. And I missed it. Um, did you get to see it?
I only got to see her arrive
Okay.
because I had to leave as well
Yeah.
with
Okay.
a band of folks who needed to get out of
Mm.
the to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So but I had the pleasure
Mm.
of seeing Joni Mitchell in person, like literally 2 feet away.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like I can't fathom it.
Yeah, I mean, how cool.
I
How
know. I was so upset. I woke up to the news and I don't know, it was just like the seismic thing that I missed. So every time I talk to anyone who was there, I always wonder if they caught it and I didn't.
Yeah, that's my story. But don't you think it's so amazing that you really didn't miss that opportunity? Because Brandy's still bringing Joni out. So
She
you
is,
could
I
go on
know.
to the Gorge or Hollywood Bowl or one
It
of these
might,
places and
yeah,
support them ladies.
I know. I mean, I live in Connecticut, so it's a little hard, but you know, maybe I'll still get to. Um, did you manage to make it to either of those shows?
No, I
Yeah.
haven't made it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they seem like they were incredible, and the guest lists, like Annie Lennox was there. Um, just like really, really people I look up to a lot. I'm very happy, you know, as a longtime Joni Mitchell listener. She's like one of the people that my mom sort of implemented into my life, you know, when I was sort of a young music listener. Um, I'm very happy she's back, but yeah, that is one of my life's regrets.
Well, that might have to be a destination trip for real.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the vacay next year.
I'll start saving now.
Exactly.
Oh geez. Okay, so you're about to go out on tour. You're going out on tour soon. It's a pretty big tour. Um, do you get excited about going out on the road?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love being on the road. I'm on the road maybe 150 days a year at least.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it does feel like you're kind of always playing somewhere.
Yeah,
Um,
I live on the road.
yeah. Have you begun thinking about which songs to include, especially older songs to include alongside the new ones?
Yes, I have. I've started and now I'm getting into like thinking about what to wear and you know, what are they really trying to tell me? So if I have to say anything about them, then I'm ready
Hmm.
to say it.
Hmm.
Sculpting of whatever might need to flow through while I'm
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this new era. We should say again, the new record, Owls, Omens, and Oracles, is out soon. It's out on April 11th on Concord. And I just want to thank you again, Valerie, for coming and hanging out for a little while.
Thank you so much for having me.